The 2016-17 season is the most important one in Clippers history, and so far, it has been a disaster. There was an incredible start that tuckered out and was then effectively erased by a blowout home loss to the Warriors in early December. Less than 2 weeks later, Blake Griffin underwent arthroscopic surgery on his right knee. But with Griffin nearing a return, the Clippers had hoped that the second half of the season could replicate their 14-2 start of the campaign. Until Monday, when Chris Paul injured his left thumb on the hip of Russell Westbrook. Tuesday, the Clippers announced that Paul tore ligaments in that thumb and will be out until March. This Clippers season has been snake-bitten, but should nothing else happen between now and March, the Clippers will have roughly a month to ramp up their play for the postseason. That's not a lot of time, especially for a team that has shown zero ability to beat the Golden State Warriors, but Paul's injury shouldn't mark the figurative end of the Clippers season. But with Griffin and Paul both likely to opt out of their contracts at the end of the year, perhaps Tuesday's news should bring about the end of the Clippers as we know them. NBA, Phoenix Suns at Los Angeles Clippers. The Clippers, as currently constructed, aren't going to beat the Warriors in a 7-game playoff series unless there's a significant injury to Golden State. That's well known in the Bay, LA, and across the USA. And if your championship hopes are directly tied to the wish that something terrible happens to another team, you don't really have championship hopes, do you? Do the Clippers put their head down, hope that their luck turns around in a serious way and then see where the cards fall in the postseason and off-season, knowing that at best they'll be back in the same place next year? Or do they make a move now and control their own destiny? There's an argument to be made for the latter. Both Paul and Griffin are going to opt out of their deals this off-season. They would be foolish not to, and there's no guarantee that both will return to Los Angeles. Even if they do, the Clippers core would be the oft-injured Griffin and a Paul that is fast approaching the end of his incredible peak. If this Clippers core hasn't truly contended for a title to this point, and doesn't appear poised to change the fact this year, is there any reason to believe that it ever will? The Clippers have won 7 straight games, all without Griffin, which has led to speculation that Griffin might be expendable at the trade deadline. That's unsurprising. Griffin has always seemed to be out of place in the Clippers' offense that is at its best when it's operating out of a 1-5 pick-and-roll with Paul and DeAndre Jordan. Griffin is a wonderful player, but the Clippers appeared better last year without him in the lineup. Seth Partnow accurately pointed out the flaw of that visual analysis this time last year, but there is still something to be said for Griffin's game not being in total sync with Paul's. Plus, while the Clippers might not have actually been better without Griffin last year, they were replacing him with a player off the bench. Of course there's going to be a level of attrition when you replace a player who was at a near MVP level with a Paul Pierce who might actually need a wheelchair. But what if the Clippers replaced Griffin with a stretch 4 type like Carmelo Anthony? It's almost impossible for the Clippers to acquire a player like Anthony, who by all accounts is only interested in waiving his no-trade clause to move to Los Angeles, without swapping Griffin. Melo has a trade kicker worth 15% of his contract. The Clippers are hard-capped at just over $117 million and they don't exactly have many valuable draft picks to trade, meaning they'd have to totally empty the cupboard if they tried to move role players in exchange for Anthony. There'd have to be a few add-ons. Pierce and Diamond Stone even out the deal, but the only trade that would logically work would be Griffin for Anthony. That's a massive blockbuster, one that would reverberate around the NBA for years to come. But here's the problem, the Clippers need to make the move before Paul comes back. The trade deadline is February 23rd. Why would the Clippers be interested in Melo for Griffin? Paul's name has been attached to the Knicks this summer because he hasn't shied away from the fact that he wants to play with another member of the Foreman Banana Boat crew, Anthony. It's hard to find a point guard in this NBA, just ask the Knicks and Bulls, and so while it seems extreme for the Clippers to choose Paul, who will be 32 before next season, over a Griffin that's arguably just entering his prime, it's really choosing one position over another. You can't have a core of